Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, mtamsula, also known as Daddy Baby on Twitter. And what am I doing here? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here in my dad's University of Farm Garage. Well, if you were gonna get a degree in farm garage, here's the place where you would do it. And you know this has to be true because whenever I do one of my, well, I think I have everything I need episodes, I always have everything I need. Wow, I got this funky jug. Ooh, this is called dark cutting oil. So dark you can't even read the label. And you pour this when you're doing thread cutting on high-speed machines. I got a paper towel for wiping my fingers because that thing's greasy. Let's see. I got a pair of earmuffs. And since spring is here, I don't need them anymore. What's this? Okay, cardboard tube, what used to be a roll of paper towels with duct tape plugging the end. Okay, we got these wooden skewers. If you ever need a wooden skewer, think of me. Hey, wait, there's something in here. Oh my God, it's corn. I dropped one on the floor. I can't get it in. Ow! If you don't know what it is, don't touch it. See, I'm learning all the time. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, that's better. In case you're wondering what today's assignment was, put batteries in this. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we got a pair of safety glasses with a loop. Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. I do like this. It flips up so that I can see you with both eyes. And then it goes down like this, right? And it has a knob and an adjustment. Now, let's see. 3.5x to 420. Okay, I have no idea what that means. But if you turn the knob, you can make it go in, close, like this. It's like, whoa, whoa, oh. Or you can turn it the other way and make it go wide. Okay, and it swivels to the side, right? And I guess you can sort of, push it down like this and go, oh, hey, baby, yeah, the braless look is the way to go. oh, Jesus, sorry. Wow, oh, whoa, hold on. I had an accident there. Oh, man. I'm gonna have to work on my pickup lines. Oh, wait. Oh, that's better. Yes. I couldn't do this if it wasn't the University of Farm Garage. Everything I know about farm garages, I learned there. I guess you could say I was homeschooled in Farm Garage. And that is another other. Because I used to have a bias against those who were homeschooled. I used to say I never met anybody who was homeschooled that wasn't crazier than a shithouse rat. And I used to believe this. I used to feel that way. But then, there was a reason why I stopped feeling that way. And it's a classic case of the map is not the territory. Which is something S.I. Hayakawa says in the preface of Language and Thought and Action, which I was, reading a couple hours ago. And it's so true. And let me tell you how this came about. Let's say 17 years ago. Was it that long? Seems like it. I met this guy in a coffee shop, and I just liked him right off the bat. He was very personable. He was funny. And the more I got to know him, the more I liked him. Because it turns out that he was skilled with computer graphic packages, doing computer artwork. The type of graphics package he used was more towards commercial art, I do believe. But I had worked 12 years doing computer-aided drafting on AutoCAD in engineering. So even though it was a different sort of work, it's still menu-driven lines and circles and squares and layers and colors and all sorts of interesting things. So he and I already spoke the same language. It's like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about in a lot of areas. So yeah, he became a good friend. I would actually go over to the place where he was staying every once in a while. Every couple of weeks we'd go over, and I'd go over and we'd watch movies in the basement. But we would talk about art projects and artsy stuff. Now, it turns out that for about 8 years up to that point, I had been working on a novel and tinkering with it, and I finally decided that I was going to self-publish the thing, which I did. Down in the notes, you will see a link to A Nice Place to Live. What was I trying to do? It's a horror novel with yucks. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but the reality is in bookstores, there's where they have the books for horror, and then there's where they have the books for funny and yucks, but there's like no in between. There's no funny horror. So okay, I miscalculated. That's why I didn't sell as many as I wanted to. But going back to when I'm finally making the decision to go ahead and do this, well, I need a cover, and I went to him, and we started talking about it. The process of putting this cover together was amazing. We had so much fun doing this. It's a lot of my ideas, and it was also, he gave me a range of choices. It's like, it's going to be your decision, but I'm going to give you like different positions of the skull, or things like that. If you take a look at the cover, in fact, wait a minute, I should just pop the cover up right here for you to get a gander at it. There is a very interesting effect. You're looking from the bottom of a farm pond up into the sky, and on the surface of the water are ripples. And that was done with an algorithm that he created and was proprietary. And very proud of it, very protective of it too. There was actually this controversy with me and him and the publishing company. They wanted his artwork with the layers, and he's like, I'm not giving them what they're asking for. They'll reverse engineer my shit and steal it. I'm like, okay, so gives you some idea of how conscientious he was about the work. So it was a great experience. We got the novel published. I got the novel published. We actually even had to go to a lawyer and set up distribution of rights because we were co-owners of the intellectual property. And so I'm starting to think, well, I met this guy. We work really, really well together. Maybe we can go into business together somehow. Merge our talents. Graphic novels, right? That's what I'm thinking as I'm trying to decide how I'm going to go out and actually physically market the book, like show up at a bookstore with a little table. It would be me, it would be him. I'd say, I wrote the book, but he created the art, okay? He made my ideas come alive. That's what I had in mind. And then the girl he was living with asks him to leave. And it was kind of the beginning of a slide. The next thing I know, he's dating this woman who snorts cocaine off the dashboard of her car while she's driving. So now I'm troubled by this development. Now when I would see him at a coffee shop, he'd been using so much cocaine. It's not funny. I mean, his skin was splotchy. It was like white and pink, and I'd seen that before. He let his nose hairs grow out. So he's always doing like this. I'm like, I can't take this guy on the road with me at this point. It's like, oh, and I got mad at him too. I mean, I thought he was throwing away an opportunity. He may not even know why I got pissed at him exactly, because I never spelled it out. I'm just, get the fuck away from me, take a hike. That's how I felt about it. However, it turns out that he had been homeschooled, right? And I started saying, I haven't met anybody who was homeschooled that wasn't crazier than a shithouse rat. And technically that's true because he's the only guy I knew who was homeschooled. So I assumed this bias, this bias formed in my head, and it's fueled by anger too, right? So homeschool. I guess what I was looking for was an explanation. How did this happen? There's another opportunity slips through my fingers. How did this happen? Homeschool. Anyway, there was something I did not know. This guy was on psychotropic medications. Right? Even back when we were doing the artwork, I had no idea. It just never came up. There was nothing came up that would even hint at that sort of thing. Nothing I saw. So then I find out later, no, this was actually the case. And he started having a problem when they couldn't come up with medications that were helping him. He was transitioning from one group of meds to another, not successfully. Now, I didn't know this. I'm like, oh, is that what was going on? So it wasn't homeschooling that made him crazier than a shithouse rat. He already was crazier than a shithouse rat. I didn't know. Okay. So magically, I no longer feel that way about homeschooled people, because there's probably a lot of great homeschooled people out there who have had, successful careers. So no sense, besmirching their reputation just because of this. And, it's one of those situations where you step back and you go, yeah, I don't feel that way anymore. And just to make sure that we're clear here, I don't bear this guy any ill will. I mean, after I was pissed at him for a while, I'd see him on the street, I'd be nice to him. But no question of, he and I ever doing anything together. It was that sort of thing. The last time I saw him, no, The time before last, I saw him, and he's like, well, I'm going to get off meds, and I'm going to do it through yoga and meditation and, just getting my mind right and eating right and doing all this. And I says, well, I wish you luck. I think it was about 3 or 4 months later, I did see him on the street, and it was kind of like kabuki theater. And I'm like, oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. And so, as you can see, once I got to the end of everything I needed to know, having a bias against people who homeschool was just me being pissed off at this guy. Oh, before I forget, if there is a publisher who would like to publish my novel with its historic, groundbreaking cover, I'd like another crack at the first page. I was never happy with the first page. I never thought it really grabbed the reader. I like to think I know how to do openings better now. And why on earth did I leave out that line about Vivian using steroids? That's so Jim Thompson. What was I thinking? But other than that, I'm very proud of the novel. I love the book. One of the great thrills of my life was having a cardboard box full of hardcover copies of my novel delivered to my apartment, and then opening the box, taking off the top book, hopping on the couch and reading the book. And it was everything I wanted. Sure sounds like me. What you hear in my videos is in my novel in spades. It's 320 pages of sex and violence, and if the publisher would like me to make it longer, I suppose I could always add more beatings. Vivian does use steroids. So I've taken my bias apart, and what have I found? I found that I chose to have a bias. I found that I talked myself into having a bias, and it was easy. Never met anybody who was homeschooled that wasn't crazy and a shithouse rat. Look at them, in my mind. There was probably even a justification if I sat down and thought about it, in the sense that, this is probably what I felt, the homeschooling was incomplete, there's gaps in his education. Once he got out in the real world, he started making poor decisions. But that wasn't the reality. The reality was his neurochemistry was doing loop-de-loops, and that's why he was making poor decisions. You go through all of this like I did, and the idea of a bias, my bias, it's like just naked. It's just there. Bias is what I would call another other for labels. That's all my bias was, just tossing around a bunch of labels, kind of thoughtlessly too. Now, the label, the generalization, and a word I really don't like, the typification, is what you find at the top of the ladder of abstraction that S.I. Hayakawa talks about in Language and Thought in Action. And we're going to pick up there in the next video. Have a good one.